Welcome back to another episode of After the Horn. I'm your host, Mark Shannon, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Marco Corona.
What's up?
It was a busy day today with the NBA trade deadline, or if you were the Toronto Raptors, it was like Groundhog Day, right?
A lot of people losing sleep tonight
A
for
lot of
some
people losing
reason.
sleep. I don't know, man. It's like it's like the Raptors franchise folded or something. The way Raptor fans are going crazy on Twitter and or on X, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because that's always a reliable source, right? The comments
Yeah.
on X and social media. But yeah, no, listen, it's been a wild, emotionally charged day here in the city of Toronto. Usually that's reserved for the other team that occupies Scotiabank Arena, right? But yeah, I mean, the Raptors trying to do their thing and move in silence, and I think that was the wrong move according to some folks that we'll get into. But yeah, I mean, here we are, right? 31 wins in the season, one win over the threshold that they had last year, and yet it seems like the sky is falling for some reason. I don't get it, bro. So let's get into it. So, what do you got?
Yeah, and obviously that's the biggest thing. It's been I don't know. It's been crazy just like seeing social media and how just like much vitriol there is in terms of the Raptors not making a deal and not really bolstering this roster that's obviously doing well. They're 31 and what 22 on this season. They were sixth in the NBA going into tonight's game, or in the Eastern Conference going into today's game. But I mean, they're firmly in a playoff spot in the grand scheme of things. They have a solid rotation with Ingram and with Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly, right? RJ's there as well when he's playing. Colin Murray Boyles has stepped up as well, right? So
Big time.
there's been a lot of it, but today obviously was a trade deadline, and there was a lot of rumors leading up to it. Obviously the Domantas Sabonis stuff, John Morant, stuff like that, right? There was a lot of rumors out there that the Raptors were in on this person and possibly being on this person. And it happens with all sports. Obviously, we've seen it with the Jays and with the Leafs and stuff. They're in on all those things. But the Raptors did make two trades, right? They moved Agbaji and a second round pick for Chris Paul, Mr. Chris Paul, who will never play for the Raptors, right? And
Nice seeing you, buddy.
according to Bobby Webster, that they're going to waive him at some point. Obviously, the deadline for that is March 4th, so I'm assuming it'll come before then at some point. And then they also traded for
TJ,
Trace. Yeah, right.
the kid
So
from the state. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, right. The young guy from the young forward from Golden State, right? So um, yeah, I don't even know what to say to it in regards to it. Like they made some moves, but we've talked about it for a while here in terms of right this season, and we talked about it a little bit before. They had what 35 wins all year last year,
Yeah, right.
right? And
30,
now they
35.
are
I mean, yeah, exactly.
something in that range, right? And now they already have what were you just saying?
31.
31 wins.
31
31
wins.
wins. There's four wins shy of that. But I don't think anybody really expected this team to be near the top of the Eastern Conference or be more of a lock for a playoff spot than what they are. Obviously, they had the talent, like we've said. Scotty Barnes and who's an All Star again. You got Brandon Ingram, who should have been an All Star as well this year, right? There's a lot of talent on this roster, but nobody knew what to expect from this team. And obviously, here we go with where they are, and a lot of Raptor fans, as fans in general of Toronto teams, just think that because they're doing so well that it's like, okay, let's just push all our chips in and go get this guy. Let's trade away this guy and that guy and this
Yeah,
guy,
right.
right? And at the end of the day, that's just not how it works. You got to be a little bit smarter, and you got to look at things for what they are. But we'll get into that a little bit later in terms of it. But they went out, like I said, they went out and got Trace Jackson Davis, right? He's the I believe he's 6'9", another
Yeah.
6'9" center, right? So it adds some more front court depth, um, gives them a little bit of there, but they also got another tax threshold, which is what they wanted to do, right? And obviously, as Bobby Webster said in his press conference today, they were in on some of the other big stuff as well. They just didn't see the fit in terms of the money. So, what are your takes on what the Raptors did? Not in terms of what the Raptors did, but more so what we're seeing on social media and like the people being so upset about the fact the Raptors never did anything really big.
I mean, like I said, right? And we talked about this in our previous podcast, and check us out if you haven't yet. What the expectations were and our thoughts on where this team is and should be and where they're going to go. And at least in our opinion, or my opinion, I said to you before I get into your question that if the Raptors are going to do anything, it should be tweaking, minor adjustments on what this roster is right now. And one of the things that we have not seen before we get into the actual trade is this lineup, the starting five, be full as in whole, as in what they actually look like for a quarter or half a season. And we haven't, with RJ being in and out of the lineup, Jakob being pretty much absent for the entire year. And if Jakob was your piece to move, right, to get something else back, it was pretty much impossible considering his health status. And so you're going to go to a team that's probably not in the playoffs trying to flip an asset and sell high, but they have to take back Jakob, whose back is whatever wrong with his back is, plus his
90-year-old.
Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. It's problematic. So I think that you said it right. The highest priority, first of all, was for the team. And I don't want to get too boring on this, but for the team, the front office to get under the tax threshold. Okay, check. I think that what they do now is they want to see what this team does in the playoffs and how they perform going forward. Right. And you and I have watched sports, and everybody who's listening, like the best way to expose a team's needs and weaknesses and flaws are seeing them through the playoffs and seeing them go through a round, maybe two, I'm not too sure. And that's when you now to start to evaluate what you need next. To me, in order for this team to make the next step, they have to grow together. We have to see them in for the full year. We're pretty much at the halfway mark, 30 games to go, whatever the case is. And to completely deplete your depth to get one guy to maybe go around and then see what happens next summer, you're actually taking a step back. So now what you're doing by getting under the tax threshold, whatever you want to say about that, whether it's sexy or not, now you set yourself up for the summer, right? Now you go big game shopping if you can. Now you understand where you're at financially with the flexibility, et cetera. And who's to say that the Raptors are not in on some big names again? Who's to say that, those preliminary discussions with Sacramento don't pick up again in July, right? Or whatever the case is. So I don't think the Raptors are in a bad spot. And we know the team lacks size. They lack shooting. But you can't go all in a year like this. You can't. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I am a true believer that if you're going to go all in, you have to be a team that is knocking at the door of a championship, right? The 2019 Raptors were that team. We all knew.
Yeah, because they had been to many Eastern Conference Finals or second rounds, and they just couldn't get over the hurdle that was LeBron James, right? And eventually, they had to make that move.
Right, and if you really look at the teams that did moves, Pacers, Cleveland, Washington, Boston. Okay, out of those teams that I've mentioned, how many teams are real contenders? Cleveland, because of James Harden, but they were a really good team already, which, by the way, they'd be behind the Raptors in the standings, if I'm not mistaken, or within a game or so. And Boston, we know who they are. Okay, but Boston is, in my opinion, even without Tatum, miles ahead of the Toronto Raptors because of the pedigree and the experience that they have in the playoffs, etc. So you can't even compare that. Cleveland has already had a taste of what the playoffs is, or success or lack thereof. So where were the Cleveland Cavaliers, although I don't agree with that trade, but that's for another day, are basically where the Raptors want to be in a year or two, minus the standings, of course, and hopefully better than that. They feel like they're a piece away from being that team. Do I think that they did the right move? No. But at the end of the day, the Raptors didn't necessarily have to blow up everything to get Sabonis or Giannis,
No.
who clearly wasn't going anywhere. And Milwaukee was basically trolling everybody to see, right, what the price is. And they knew they didn't have to do this, right? You dangle a piece, you see what the interest is. Somebody bites, great. If they don't, then you just move on, right? So everybody just needs to chill, man, right? Bobby is not the worst GM in the league. This front office is not the worst front office in the league. It's about patience. It's about, I don't want to steal Philadelphia's model, but trusting your own process, right? And let's see what we can do. And this team, yeah, they have flaws, like I said, and we know this. It's obvious. They can't shoot the threes, but guess what, right? If you have a 3-point shooter on your team, you're not going to trade him low, right? It's you know what the 3-pointer is? It's like bullpen. It's like pitching in baseball. If you have it, odds are you're not going to trade it because everybody wants it. And the Raptors don't have that, so they're going to have to figure that out in the summer, plus a big. So I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I know some people are, but they are where they are.
Well, that's what I mean. What do you think about the fan pulse of and the way they've been reacting to the deadline in the way like I've never seen Raptor fans act the way they've acted on especially on
It's
Twitter
weird.
with like the right with the fire Bobby, and like I saw somebody on TikTok gave the Raptors trade deadline an F grade because they didn't make a major move to push this team over the edge.
But
And it's
what edge?
like, but that's what I mean. At the end of the yes, you maybe they could have made a big deal, brought in Demontis
Come on, man.
Sabonis and whatever the case is, and it pushed them over the edge and got them out of the first round. But is this team a contending team for a Larry O'Brien trophy? No, they're not even close.
So let's just
They're
say that Sacramento goes out and says, "Okay, we'll give you Sabonis, but we
yeah,
want no pun intended, we want a king's ransom back." So if you eliminate Scotty B, right? Because let's just assume that that's not their goal, then they're going to want at least 3 players plus picks. Okay, but isn't that the strength of your team in theory? Your depth, your young depth, your depth.
yeah,
Like, so now you're adding Sabonis. Great, I love Sabonis. Great player. Defensively, meh. Okay, but he does a lot of things that makes your offense better. But now you're taking away 2 or 3 other guys from your active roster for one guy to go what, one and done? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make your team complete. It makes it actually, in theory, a little bit worse from a depth perspective. And as far as the panic, everybody needs to chill. Like, again, this is not, maybe it's a bunch of Leaf fans trying to make up for some sort of PTSD.
yeah,
I don't get the panic. I don't get the anger. Like some of the shit that's out there in social media, and again, we can't trust anything that social media says for the most part, except for us. Rely on us. Is out of control. I've never seen a team that's gone from 30 wins. By the way, it was 30 wins last year to 31 wins by the All-Star break be so out of control, insane, mad about trades that they didn't make.
yeah,
When there's 30 games left, who knows? Maybe they win around. I don't know. The East is what it is. But if you look at the landscape of the entire NBA trade deadline, other than a few like head scratchers, nobody really has
yeah,
made we are going like completely all in kind of move, right? It's been moves to increase your draft capital, get out of the tax, get cap compliance, like all these tactical moves. Teams were not going to completely blow up their roster in this
yeah,
trade deadline because the way that the CBA has restructured the cap and the what do you call it, the apron and the pants, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Those days are done. Now you do your shopping in the summer, and that's it. So
yeah.
you look at the James Harden trade. By the way, Miami didn't make a trade.
No,
One move.
they were only in on what's his name. They only wanted Giannis.
Right. So what are they going to do? They're going to go all in the summer probably, right? So there's going to be a bidding war. But that's the way it
Well,
is, man. It's, jeez.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, we'll see what what happens into it, but I just, like I said, the fan reaction to it has been absolutely crazy to me. Uh, I think if you're a realist and you look at this team for what it is, this team's not winning a championship. So it doesn't
No,
make
they're
sense to
not.
just throw away everything to get something, just to make a trade, to say to trade something, like to make a major trade, to say you made a major trade. At the end of the day,
They don't hang
you
bangers for trades.
you
You
you,
know that,
you but
right?
yeah, exactly. But you also want to be able to compete because it's Toronto. Like, they don't attract the top talent. They just never have in terms of free agency. You have to trade. You have to make the trades for them. But you also have to make the smart trades. They went out and made a smart trade for Brandon Ingram last year.
They
They brought
invested.
him in, and it was somebody who wanted to actually be here,
Right.
right? And he re-signed, and he signed an extension, and he's probably going to opt into all of his deals, all of his opt-ins going forward, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, they made that move because they thought it would push them a little bit further ahead. And look at where they are right now, right?
And last year they made a tactical move in sitting Ingram, not pushing the envelope, understanding that
Exactly.
this is a marathon, not a race, right?
Hmm.
And at that time, a lot of people questioned why are you getting a guy if you're not going to play him?
Yeah.
And now the same fan base is saying, why is this guy not an all star?
Yeah. No, I agree. I
Happen both ways.
100% agree with you. It's been I don't know. It's just like I said, it's crazy to see some of the reactions and people, like I said, giving it an F grade because they didn't go out and make a big trade just to make a big trade to appease the fans. They also want to be able to compete in the playoffs and compete for 3, 4 Larry O'Briens in down the road, not just
Right.
one every 5, 10 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Because if that's the case, then yeah, if you want to just go one and done and be good for a year, then you make those trades.
yeah,
But if you're going to go for the long run, you want to maximize your max contracts that you have with Scotty and with BI for the length of their terms, which is 4 or 5 years down the road, plus potential extensions again, then you make smart moves now. Sorry, in the summer. You don't go completely nuclear and get guys who have short term and maybe walk away in 2 years anyway, right? And then you're basically right back where you were last year. I think it was the right move. Again, would have I liked to see maybe potentially somebody who can shoot the three ball and create a little bit more offense, potentially off the bench or whatnot? Yes, but and they addressed a need, which was depth in their center position. Okay, and I know he's not your prototypical center, whatever that means in 2026, by the way. But listen, it didn't cost you that much. It's buy low. It's hopefully it works out, and who knows? He's going to have an opportunity to play in Golden State. There wasn't that much a run for him for this kid. He's a young guy. He's what 20, 24, 25, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he doesn't have a lot of mileage on his legs because he hasn't played a lot. So now he's going to get an opportunity here, hopefully, with the young team. He Darko can install his system with him, etc. If Yak gets back and healthy, then now you have a nice 1-2 punch that you can go to the bench, right? And yeah, and listen, at the end of the day, now everybody knows that nobody's going anywhere, right? It's time for the other guys like Grady and everybody else who's on the bench, comes off the bench now to take that next step. And hopefully in the second half of the season, as we move past the All-Star break, there's a bit of a run that this team goes on. And learn from this, right? This group has not tasted this kind of success ever, right? As part of this group. So I think status quo was not necessarily a bad thing for this team, for this year, where they stand. Correct. No. No, which is that's surprising, by the way. Right. We know they're flawed. Yeah. No, there is. And you can't just fleece teams, right? That doesn't happen. And again, we've been lucky. We've been lucky in this city that Masai in the past in this front office have pulled up some deals that you go, oh damn, I can't believe somebody actually took this guy off our roster and whatever the case is. And not everything that these GMs do works. Rob Pelinka has failed quite a bit. Rob Pelinka has been successful quite a bit, right? This is what it is. It's an hit and miss kind of job, right? And if TJD comes in here, a third year player, by the way, and plays really well, congratulations. If he doesn't, then you bought low anyways. So again, you didn't it didn't cost you anybody from your roster to get this guy in your on your roster, right? And yeah, 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 yeah. Honestly, and the East is going to get better eventually, right? A lot of those bottom teams, look, your Atlantas, maybe not Chicago, but your Atlantas, etc. Indiana should be better next year, in theory, right? Of course, and they are and they're a perfect example on the NBA or in sports that nothing is guaranteed, man. This team was in Game Seven last year in the NBA Finals, and they are looking right now. They're staring at a lottery pick right in the face, right? Like, how do you go from the highest of the highest in at least in less than a year? You're a bottom feeder in the East in the NBA, right? And you look at this team, you're like, this team shouldn't be that bad, even without their top guy. And and again, it doesn't matter. It humbles you. So let's all just pump the brakes, man. It's going to be fine. I'm telling you right now, I am very happy where this team is headed. I'm confident that the front office will do what makes sense. They're confident that the summer they're going to lock in and adjust. But now let's just right the ship, right? And even that sounds weird because right the ship is usually meant for a team that's struggling, but they're not. They've been a little bit up and down, but this is a team that hasn't tasted, like I said, a lot of success. So they have to learn to win. Winning is something that you learn, right? And then go through the slumps, figure this shit out, get into a playoff position, make the playoffs. Hopefully, again, if you can stretch a series or win a round, that's fantastic. But there's going to be pain in the playoffs, and that's where you grow. And I'm telling you right now, this team is way closer than what people think. It's just that they have to be patient. Yes. Right. If there's a wish list for the remaining of the year, if I had one, is let's get Yaks healthy. Let him play. If he can play 20, 25 games of the 30 left, I mean, that's stretching that's stretching it a lot. But and then he's healthy for the playoffs. You know what that does? If that's your chip to get a piece back, then you want him healthy. You want him to play. You want him to be consistent and good. So then his value is up, and then you go back to those potential trades that you may or may have not discussed this past trade deadline, and say, okay, look at the resume. He's good to go. Now you flip him, right? But until then, let's get this guy healthy. Let's get TJD on the lineup, see what he can do. Grady Dick's time to step up and stop missing threes, right? Scotty, keep doing your thing. Bi, keep doing your thing. CMB has been a rebel. Like CMB has been really, really solid. He's been put in a spot that he shouldn't be. And this kid, and the one thing that we all said at the draft is that the thing with him is he can't shoot. The shooting was going to be a challenge. And you know what? He's not giving you 40 points a game, but he's doing everything else that you've asked him to do. And he's doing it at a high level. And he's a young guy. And I know he's hurt. He's got the hand issue and whatnot, but he's playing through it. And again, it's constantly passing these small tests to get to the bigger picture. We're good. Don't panic. Yeah. No. Am I a Raptor fan outside of this podcast, and my panic meter is all over the place. It's like on crash mode. It's like call CAA. No, honestly, the panic meter is turned off. The car is in the garage. It honestly, if it was electric car, it would be charging, just resting. Just chill out. It's fine. I am not panicking at all. It's because I wasn't panicking going into the trade deadline. I'm good, man. I'm chilling. You're not firing Bobby? Oh, so you're driving that eco mode. You're chilling. Yeah, for sure. And don't get it twisted. Us talking about the Raptors being okay and us saying that it's chilling and we're chilled and the panic meter is off doesn't mean that we're okay with being quote unquote mid and we're accepting that the Raptors are not good enough and it's okay to lose. No, we're fans. We know that we listen. You and I can sit here and talk about the chilling and the panic meter being off. Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd love to see the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. Why not? Right? The Pacers did it a few years ago and they came out of nowhere. There's a world that exists that this Raptor teams can completely exceed expectations in the playoffs and surprise everybody, and that's the best way to learn. There's also the world that exists that the Raptors can go one and done, and get swept in the first round, right? But at the end of the day, it's the experience, right? It's the experience that counts. And then what? Can't win.